What is up, guys? Mcdoubles back in with a brand new video, and as you can see, I've dressed up today because today I want to go over private server news for all what I believe are the private servers that are actually relevant today in June of 2023. I want to go over things like Azeroth at War, Project Epoch, Turtle WoW, Ascension WoW, Conquest of Azeroth WoW news, updates, information about what's going on now, what just happened, and what is to come with my commentary as well. And if you guys enjoy this, I might do more videos like this covering all of the servers in one video in the future. Could be a monthly thing, could be a weekly thing, could be a whenever cool stuff is happening with a multitude of servers thing, could be a whatever thing, but I like the idea, so hope you enjoy the tuxedo, and let's jump right in. Okay, guys, so honestly, I was thinking about a video to put out today, and I've actually been a little bit busy playing Diablo 4. Really enjoyed that. Don't know if there's going to be another video for it, though, and I was doing some Ascension stuff as well, and I thought to myself, okay, what is something you could put out that's actually worth it with some substance? What's a good idea? And I thought, I kind of tried this in the past, but never to this same degree. It was just Ascension. What if I did private server news videos? Maybe not weekly, because there might not be anything worth talking about. I hate to milk things. It really bothers me on a deep level. But what if it was just like, you know, when there's something to talk about, we have private server news. Could be, you know, every week. Could be every month or 2 months. So I just don't know. And maybe this is the very first one, and so that's exactly what I'm going to do. So this is going to be the very first episode of private server news. I don't think anybody's really doing it, and I'm going to be sticking to the following types of servers, just so you guys know. Occasionally, I'll do different servers, I'm sure, but for now, it's going to be the stuff that I really know a lot about, and I also think they're the best private servers personally. I don't really like the Blizz-like stuff, the crazy stuff that's out there that people don't know as much about because they don't know much about them, typically for a reason, and so that kind of combination, right? So, Turtle WoW, Ascension WoW, Duskhaven, Project Epoch, Conquest of Azeroth, Wallcraft, Azeroth at War, possibly more. We'll see what happens. Like I said, that's what I'm going to be talking about today, though. So what I want to do is just give you guys an update on what's going on recently with all of these games. And because this is the very first video, I'm going to be going back maybe even 3 or 4 weeks in time, right, to tell you guys what's going down, what to expect, what's going to happen soon, and give you guys my opinion on it as well, because that's what I do. It's the Mcdoubles YouTube channel. Okay, let's begin with Ascension WoW. Okay, so Ascension WoW is in a very interesting place right now. League 4 just launched about 2.5-ish weeks ago. It launched as a massive success. It got far more players and viewers on their YouTube channel than Chapter 2 of Season 8 did a few months prior, and so overall, that's a pretty good thing. The challenge modes, the trials, that seems like it's a big success. Build draft seems like it's a big success, but it doesn't seem to go well with free pick, so I think free pick is really the big problem right now with League 4, as when you're done with build draft, you feel forced to free pick anyway. PvP is completely overrun by very overpowered CC and burst heavy spec. This means build drafts can rarely compete with the free pick meta specs, and your flavorful themed based specs have no chance. And it's literally playing a regular version of WoW on steroids, and that's not going to appeal to everybody, so I think PvP is overall still pretty dead. However, all the brand new dungeons and stuff like that, super big W, woodcutting, super big W, and so overall League 4 is a massive success. What we end up getting from the end of this, though, in Chapter 3, that's going to be the main thing to look at. But I think free pick is the only big dud of the entire league, and hey, that was the thing that was already in the game prior, so hey, that's a good thing, right? With that being said, Blackwing Lair comes out on the 17th, which is tomorrow for League 4, and in case you didn't know, the league seems to be slotted to end sometimes towards the end of July, with Naxxramas releasing on July 15th, giving players, I would assume, at least a couple weeks to experience Naxxramas on League 4 before the realm merges with Thrall in Area 52, and we get, I believe, Chapter 3. Okay, next up, I want to talk about Conquest of Azeroth, because everybody's just waiting, right? I personally thought we'd be getting more news on this, like a week ago, but we're still waiting for a major article and newsletter release from the Koa team, and the reason I say that's because they actually told us about it on their Discord update on June 4th, where they told us 1 to 3 weeks from that message, we would be getting an article and a newsletter talking to us about what's going to be going down with Koa. With that being said, that slots the article and the newsletter for sometime between the 11th and 25th of June, so this gives us at least a little over 1 more week until we're guaranteed to get more information, and of course I'll cover that. If Conquest of Azeroth with these brand new Dragonflight-esque talents ends up being really good, I might make a whole lot of videos on it just like the old days, but I'm going to be very critical, to a fair degree, I'll say. I know I said very, but I'm not going to be mean unless it deserves it, but I highly doubt it. But we've been waiting a long time for this, and I really hope it's good, so I guess we'll find out very soon. Okay, so Duskhaven. So Duskhaven kind of experienced a lot. I really want to quickly talk about this because people are just kind of crazy, and I know that you guys know that because we're all here together as one, you know what I mean? But like, people are genuinely crazy. So very quickly, what happened with Duskhaven? Well, basically it was this. About 3-ish months ago, Ascension was experiencing a big downturn. I wasn't having much fun with it. Lots of people were disappointed in Chapter 2 of Season 8. It didn't get as many views on YouTube for both their YouTube channel, but also for the people that covered it, which is basically just me. And so I was looking for other things to do, having already had many, many bad months starting all the way back in December, and me just being a regular guy that makes regular money. I need to pay bills, right? You know what? Nox came to me. I shared all this in the very, first few videos, and also towards the end, where he said, hey, do you want to play my server? I've made a really cool server, and I think it'll be awesome. And I gave him about a week where I just looked at his server. I made a decision. Do I actually want to show this? Is it worthy of being shown? I log in, I play it a bit, I see the Tinker class. I think, wow, so many of us want a Tinker class. Nobody is doing it. I'll show just this. And it actually blew up. I never thought it was going to blow up, but because it did blow up, I just kept playing Duskhaven, and I had a whole lot of fun. It was full of bugs, not gonna lie. It was full of a lack of polish, but we all knew it. All of us knew it, and I made it very clear. We're playing here for the experience, but also, maybe, just maybe, they will actually prove themselves, they being the developers of Duskhaven. At the time, it was only Nox, but he tried to get more people on board. So that's what actually happened. The reason I say people are crazy is because I saw this about 5 days ago on Reddit. I don't have an official Reddit account that I care about, but I do peruse the WoW servers Reddit, and I saw what happened to Duskhaven. Now, I saw this after they already crossed this out, but it still made me sad. So this guy said, everybody said Mcdoubles quit, and that's why nobody's playing the server, and I'll get on more info on that in a moment. But this guy said Mcdoubles really jumped the gun on promoting the server, and it probably hurt the server more than it helped. He's retracting this, but he still said it to begin with, right? And then he said, some creators got to realize how big their influence is, and that giving a server a mass influx of players isn't always what they need. And I just want to say, even though he's retracted this, the fact that he wrote it at all was so depressing, because how stupid is that? I'm just going to be real. To think that it's my fault that the server started to decline, that they went from 50 players on Duskhaven to 1,000, and that's a bad thing, and that somehow Duskhaven would have been a better server had they had no players at all on it, and had they not gotten all of that support from people who actually became better than I ever was at Duskhaven, and were helping Nox make the classes better, and etc., is beyond me. But I think people just want to hate, and I don't know why. Maybe it's my voice, I don't know what it is, I don't know what's wrong with me. Now, luckily, this guy came in, he was a really good human being. When I read this one, I got really happy. He told this guy that actually Nox wanted me to play the server. I didn't just go in there just to be, I want to ruin the server and flex myself. But some people did try to say stuff like that. They're talking about YouTubers moved on, fan bases followed. I disagree with that. People were already quitting before I quit. I actually was one of the longer ones to stay there. But the most part is I left, and people say it's all because of me that the server died, but that's not true. Once again, the server was already starting to lose people before I left. That's why I left, actually. There was less and less people to play with. The server videos weren't doing as well. I can't sit there forever. Now, with that being said, this comment right here basically says what we actually want to look forward to on a positive note. They're going to have a Scarlet Crusade raid, a Profession overhaul, custom dungeons and zone overhauls, but the main thing is that we need polish from Duskhaven. I didn't like this guy's message, though, and this is relevant, I think, to Duskhaven, because this guy said Mcdoubles was only flexing his marketing powers, and while I do appreciate that some people out there genuinely believe that I have power, they genuinely think that I'm actually thinking all of this through and that I'm a mastermind, I'm actually not. I just play things because they're fun. Nobody gives me money to play their servers. I wouldn't take it even if they offered, and many have, and I wasn't trying to flex my marketing powers, but it did make me very happy that I have a community that's willing to play with me so that I don't have to play by myself. That's always been the point. But I did just want to toss this in because I can't really defend myself on Reddit, nor would I try even if I could, and I just found it funny that there are human beings like this out there, just like they hate me. Anyway, back to what's really important. Let me get to the real news on Duskhaven after giving you guys that background and whatever. Duskhaven has currently been through a whirlpool since the release of their Bard. The Bard released at a time in which Duskhaven was already receiving negativity for a lack of polish in the game and a dwindling player base. I played the new Bard. I got to level 10 just to show it off, nothing crazy, and show you guys the undead and the music and stuff like that. But even when I was doing the Bard starter zone, I was experiencing bugs and a lack of polish. On top of that, shortly after the release of Bard, they released AQ, and when they released AQ, apparently the Cthulhu and fights in general, but specifically I think Cthulhu had some problems with it, some things that were not planned to actually happen by the developers themselves, and I think it either made it easier or trivialized it in some way. But I did talk to the guys that did the run, at least one of them who's in my Discord, he's a member of the channel, and he told me they still had to put in quite a lot of hours to make that down happen on Cthulhu. With that being said, the developers weren't happy with it, so they took all the achievements and titles, whatever, right away from all the people in that guild, even though they downed it first. They received massive backlash for this. They gave everything back. But the problem is player sentiment towards the server just waned even more, especially, as I said, with the launch of Ascension's League 4, but also with Diablo 4, among other things I can only imagine. With that being said, I'm always up for a hero arc where they come back out of nowhere as the underdog and do amazing things. I'd still like to see that, but Duskhaven is currently sitting at a population of probably about 200 players at peak. You can see here I saw about 115 people online at about 8 o'clock in the morning. And just as one more tidbit, they did recently rework the Tinker class right after my videos, although I don't think it had anything to do with my videos, because the way they reworked it is nothing to do with what I said to do. It looks like this was planned the whole time, and this was actually met with mostly positivity from what I heard from Tinker players. But like I said, the server still needs to polish everything up if it hopes to regain its player base, and so we will see. All right, next up, Project Epoch. A little bit on this one, right? So Project Epoch is a pretty cool server that aims to be a 3.3.5a client, authentic vanilla server. Now, that's a pretty tough thing to do, but one of the cool things about this server is that they proved it's doable. Now, the server came out swinging with their beta 2 phase. It came out with a lot of promising content, both currently in the beta, but also as I talked to Katotes in my last video I made on it, we also saw that there's a lot of content to be seen later down the line in future betas and at launch, which is really exciting. Stuff like a brand new raid in Stone Talon Peaks, or maybe a raid or a dungeon in Tolbarad, or even like Grimbatol, a raid for that. The problem with Project Epoch and why we might not be covering it too much more is that the server doesn't plan to launch for possibly up to a year from now, and with all of the custom content they have planned, it does seem like it'll be worth waiting for, but it's still a really long time away. But like I said, if there's one thing Project Epoch did right during their beta 2 phase, it was that they showed the world of private servers that you can create an authentic vanilla experience using a 3.3.5a client. It was slow, it was really genuine, it felt like vanilla, and I'll even say, I didn't even realize I was on a 3.3.5a client until like way after when he reminded me, Katotes himself, while we were doing a bit of a run through of all the custom content. That is how authentic it felt. So I expect good things from Project Epoch. Next up, Azeroth at War. So Azeroth at War, if you don't remember, was the server that is touting at least 20 playable races and an authentic vanilla plus experience using a 3.3.5a client. This includes things like playable ogres and playable naga. They also have a custom necromancer class they plan to ship at launch, and we'll see it in the betas as well, and I showed you guys that they aim to make unique from Death Knights, and they both have a melee and a caster spec going for them. That's pretty interesting. Azeroth at War is actually going to be hosting their first official closed alpha that houses more than just content creators on June 20th, which is only a few days away. I will be checking it out because I feel like on the first few days you'll have the most amount of people on there, and I'll be able to see what they've got going down. They also seem to have another beta on July 1st through July 22nd that's going to be open, I think, to everybody. That's what I'm getting from this. So everybody can get in there other than just the handful of people that won a raffle plus content creators that we're going to be seeing in the most upcoming closed alpha that I just mentioned. So players who gained access will, as far as I see, be able to stream and make content on the server, which will feature more class changes and more of AAW's vision for what they want their server to be. This is a really big deal because outside of the gimmick that is the crazy amount of playable races, especially the really cool stuff like the ogre, there is actually very little understood about this server right now. I mean, will it be quicker to level like on Duskhaven? Because it felt like that, but that could be changed. Or will it be slow and steady like Turtle WoW, which I think is what people kind of yearn for right now. When it comes to XP rates, it's just really hard to get it right, it seems. However, the June 20th closed alpha should help us figure some of this stuff out, since it will be the first alpha with a lot of players to group up with and play with in a serious way. All right, next up, Turtle WoW, the king of Vanilla Plus right now. So Turtle WoW is still going strong. They had about 4K players early in the morning, and I'm assuming around 5 to 6K players right now at peak. And they recently, about a few weeks ago-ish, they had about 8K players, or 7-ish to 8K at peak, which is pretty insane. Now, it looks to me like roughly 1/5 to 1/6 of their online players are hardcore players. This is a big deal because Turtle WoW has been doubling down on their hardcore success with various updates, one of which is actually coming out today, and they're calling it Inferno mode, which as far as I can see is something a current or future hardcore player can activate starting at level 55. That gives you an attunement quest line that then allows you to opt in to what they call Inferno mode, which essentially allows you to play hardcore at level 60 rather than be a regular player. This also allows you to make your own hardcore guilds, and again, just try to push hardcore to its limits. Now, Turtle WoW has also, interestingly enough, recently met some controversy with a recent influx of Chinese players, and the English community, which includes Europeans and North Americans and all that jazz, they seem to have a problem with some cultural differences between the two groups, as well as an inability to communicate and play with each other effectively due to language barriers. Now, I don't understand this to a really high degree, but it looks to me like Chinese players seem to be a little bit more in tune with things like GDKP, gold buying, RWT, stuff like that, and the English players are genuinely irritated with that. And again, when you can't even talk to each other, that's not vanilla WoW. And also, by the way, based on their most recent Discord update on June 11th, they also seem to be looking at making class changes once again, and they're recruiting skillful players to help them do that, as well as looking at endgame itemization, removing world buffs from raids, and balancing PvP, which is interesting. However, and you know I have to throw this in because you know me, there still seems to be no fresh server on the horizon, and this does make me sad. But again, they're the king of Vanilla Plus. They have a massive player base right now, so what do I know? On the overall, though, that's Turtle WoW. Now, you would think I'd be done right now, but I did mention Wallcraft, and I haven't made any kind of video for this yet, but I do think this is something to look out for, so I did just want to talk about it. The Wallcraft is a server that I haven't made any videos on yet, as it is in early alpha development, but it looks to be a promising new Vanilla Plus server that's a little bit more like Turtle WoW, right? With that slower, more authentic progression. Now, recently, they posted an update on their Discord and on the WoW servers Reddit where they showed their progress on player housing, right? The only other server looking at player housing is Ascension WoW, and they still seem to be quite a ways away on it. Could be a few months, could be 6 months, we don't know. All they said is it's going to come after fletching, but they didn't give me any kind of hard, I know when it's coming type of answer. However, this actual look at a Night Elf house they showed on Reddit and on their Discord looked very interesting. Although admittedly, it was massive. It wasn't exactly how I personally envisioned. In some ways, it might be better. I'm not really sure if this is in the game world or instanced, but it almost looks like you have neighborhoods, which I then personally began to think about, and I was like, why have an instanced house when you could have instanced neighborhoods? That's just cooler and more community focused. All I do know though is that there were plenty of little houses there. The idea is that you could have one for yourself and put stuff in there, and it looked really freaking cool, and people liked it a lot. Now, I've been watching Wallcraft's class balance videos on their Wallcraft YouTube channel. Wall, by the way, is the head developer. That's why it's called Wallcraft, and I personally really like their philosophy on class balance. It does seem to be like a step further than Turtle WoW, because Turtle WoW really tried to do as little as possible while still making it a bit fresh in order to keep as close to original vanilla as they could. So while some classes like Pally are dramatically changed to some degree, other classes like Warlock, like what I played, basically feel the exact same. But as mentioned, even they, Turtle WoW, are looking to change the classes even more now. And so Wallcraft might be the server they want to look at because they seem to be doing some really cool stuff. Now, Wallcraft also plans to have playable ogres with working gear, which is like crazy and comes out of left field, right? This includes helmets, and the maker of the server Wall seems to have acute knowledge of what makes vanilla World of Warcraft good, but, and this is the more important part because everybody nowadays has acute knowledge of what makes vanilla good to some degree, but he also knows how to make it better. This is actually like my stamp of approval. Good change, but from talking to him myself very, very briefly, but like I said, actually watching all of his incredibly long videos, some I skimmed, I won't lie, but because they're very long, but where he's talking about all the class changes and everything happening on Wallcraft, to me, it looks really good. It looks like it's something to look out for, and I'm definitely going to be playing it on the very first alpha that I have access to. So guys, that is all of the private server news right now for what I thought was relevant. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. Major thanks to all the members on my channel. Love and appreciate you guys, but I'll see all of you on the next one. Mcdoubles out.